Days Gone is a single-player, third-person, open-world RPG set in post-apocalyptic, zombie-infested Oregon. I myself am just playing Days Gone for the first time in April 2020 on the PlayStation 5. I've always kind of wanted to play this game, but never could put my other games down or force myself to purchase the game. But since it's on PlayStation Plus and the PS5 collection, I figured I'd go ahead and give it a try. The main reason I'm doing this quick review is because the game is getting a little bit of a facelift and a port to PC, so there will be another uptick in players playing the game on top of the ones who are already playing because it's the PlayStation Plus game for April 2021. I'd love to see some of those features that are coming to PC get ported over to PlayStation 5 as well. Before we talk about some of the pros and cons of the game, I'd like to talk about the PC's port. I expect to be somewhat similar to PlayStation 5. PlayStation 5's hardware is pretty similar to a Ryzen 7, and in between an RTX 2080 and a 2080 Super. Granted, the 2080 Super is massively underclocked from the factory. First, I will say I am pleasantly surprised at how much I really enjoy this game. I have not beat the game, but I'm 60 hours in, and just based on what I know, there's plenty of gameplay left. I am really happy that I waited to play the game on PlayStation 5, since it's at dynamic 4K and 60 FPS. To me, at this point, it's really hard for me not to play a game at least 60 FPS, so I am glad I waited to play it for that experience. I love a single-player RPG where the side quests don't feel like a task, and I really get lost in the world. I personally almost avoid doing the main story just because I love playing the game so much. You expect a game like this to have a lot of survival elements, but it really doesn't. It does have a lot of scavenging, building reputation with factions, fun and versatile combat, stealth, and a variety of enemies. At face value, this looks like a zombie game, but it really isn't. Yes, there are plenty of zombies, and a variety of them, hordes, and they're dangerous, but it's really what happens to the humans when the zombies take over. How the humans treat each other in that regard. Well, that was somewhat of a jumbled explanation, but let's get into the pros and cons of what I like about the game. So firstly, we'll talk about some pros, and then we'll throw in some cons. First off, it is a great looking game. I mean, no, it's not the best looking game ever. I can think of a couple of games that look better. But on the PlayStation 5, it feels like it is a PlayStation 5 game to a certain degree. It definitely doesn't feel like it's a PlayStation 4 game. And it runs really great. The visuals are nice. And I never really see any dips in the frame rate. Sneaking in this game is actually a lot of fun. And it's really forgiving. And there's a lot of elements to upgrading your skill tree that will help you sneak more efficiently, better on. And there are certain points where you have to sneak, but I really hate games that like force you to sneak and it's so difficult and you fail. In this game, it's again forgiving, and I actually do enjoy it quite a bit. The gunplay is actually a lot of fun. I'm honestly not a big into shooters nowadays. I used to be when I was younger, but they're kind of played out. I love how they've designed the guns in this game. And in the beginning, ammo's a little bit sparse, but honestly, once you get later on, you really don't have to conserve your ammo too much. And they have a variety of guns between all the ones you'd expect. You know, semi-auto, auto, shotguns, snipers, pistols, pretty much anything you would expect from a game that, you know, has guns in it. Another thing is that you can make custom melee weapons, which is actually kind of cool. Once you unlock some of the side quests and start learning blueprints, you can unlock these melee weapons. And after you craft a weapon, you can repair it at any time by just picking up scrap in the open world. And again, it's a really forgiving system that just kind of makes the game fun. One of the big things about this game is obviously the motorcycle. If you know anything about this game, you know that you drive on a motorcycle. I say fully customizable, but it's very customizable, and it's part of your gameplay progression to upgrade your motorcycle, which makes a lot of sense. The motorcycle is very useful, but the driving is spot on. There's a lot of games where they will have vehicles and the driving doesn't feel too great, but the motorcycle does. It feels really good, and I think they did a really good job with that. And it is fun to customize as far as the way that the motorcycle looks and the different types of upgrades as far as cosmetics and things like that. Circling back on your skill tree, there are a few useless skills, in my opinion, based on my gameplay, but other people might find them useful. But there are some really crucial skills, and I'll give you one example. You do have like this survival sense that you start the game with, and there's an upgrade skill where you can see enemies once you use your survival sense. It's really good for sneaking to see enemies, like see where enemies are behind walls and stuff like that. That's just one example. I mean, there's plenty of there's generic upgrades, but there's really fun and unique upgrades to the game. All right, let's talk about some of the cons since we just gave it a bunch of praise. One thing that really frustrates me with this game is the scripted events in the open world. Not necessarily if you're on a story, but in the open world. For example, there's ambush camps that are set up all around the map. And if those camps exist, then there's people in that area that will ambush you. And you'll just be riding along, and all of a sudden a sniper out of nowhere will snipe you off of your bike, which is fine. But actually, when you play it, you realize how scripted it is and ridiculous it is. And it really breaks immersion. You can't really get back on your bike until you kill all the ambushers there, and it's really frustrating. Another one is like the zombie wolves that will chase you. It doesn't matter how fast you go, they will catch up to you and knock you off your bike, and it's really annoying because, again, it's scripted. Like, you can be going down a hill with nitrous, and you can see that their movement is kind of like unnaturally sped up so that they have to, because it's whatever their role is, they have to knock you off your bike, and it's really annoying. Another thing is like forced gameplay mechanics. For example, there's cars everywhere, and a lot of them are in good shape, but you can't drive them, which makes sense because the whole point of the game is to upgrade your motorcycle and to use your motorcycle. But it's really annoying that it's like, oh, there's all these like really useful vehicles just sitting out in the open and you can't drive them. And so it's a little bit annoying, and again, it kind of breaks immersion. Another frustrating thing is in the very beginning of the game, I mean, you cannot hardly travel anywhere on your bike. It's a gas guzzler. It's so ridiculous. Fortunately, you soon realize that there's gas everywhere, but basically the developers just make you constantly stop to grab fuel cans that are laying around the world and scavenge. It's kind of like another one of those forced things that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You can upgrade your fuel tank, which is nice, and once you get to about the third upgrade rank, you can travel really far without gassing up. All right, let's add in a few more pros since we just crapped on the game quite a bit. Like I said earlier, the side quests are actually a lot of fun, and there's a variety of them. I don't feel like they're too repetitive, even though it is like kind of like different zones are controlled by different factions per se. If you think of like Infamous, where you have to clear the zone in order to free it up, and there's different aspects to it. So there's like factions, there's like these crazy drug addicts, there's like zombie infested zones, and then there's everything else that's kind of related to the main story of like the main camps and stuff like that. But the side quests are a lot of fun, and I mean, if you really invest your time into the game, you'll definitely immerse yourself in those side quests. Another thing I like about this game is the main story is really digestible. I saw some people complaining online that the main story is not great. I mean, honestly, there's not a whole lot of games that I'm like absolutely captivated by the story. The story is digestible. I'm not compelled to skip cutscenes just to get into gameplay. I like listening to the story and watching the cutscenes. I think they're pretty good. So that's a good thing, at least in my opinion. Another thing is like the quests. They're not terribly long, which is nice. I mean, you don't get like into one quest that's going to take 45 minutes to an hour. They're pretty short, pretty digestible, and I like that. As far as the difficulty, I started the game on hard, which at this point I feel is a mistake. I should have started it at least on the next difficulty up, because I haven't run into too many issues where I'm actually like getting killed or anything. So yeah, I should have started it a little bit harder than that. But hard, I would say, is for most people is going to be fine. I like a little bit harder of an experience. So I should have gone at least the next step up. They also have survival options, which makes the game very hard, but also you can't fast travel. Personally, I wouldn't do that because the fast travel feature is really nice, because a lot of times you don't necessarily want to drive all the way across the map because it's pretty far. On top of those, always having to run into those scripted events of getting sniped off your bike or getting ambushed, or a zombie wolf running up to you and taking you off your bike. So yeah, I don't know, survival, no fast travel, but hey, the option's there. So if you really want to immerse yourself in that kind of zombie experience, it's there for you. A couple of more cons. As far as the graphics, like I said, overall, they're definitely above average. They're very good. Not the best. I'm not like, my breath doesn't get taken away, but you know, there's some great landscapes and stuff. But some of the bushes and trees, they use the flat surfaces where it kind of looks like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, where it's just a flat surface against a flat surface. I mean, I realize a lot of games use that, but it kind of breaks immersion. Preferably in a game like this, to me, I like it when they use like foliage, the flat surfaces on the foliage, to just constantly face you so that you can't look at it and see that it's flat. That's my opinion, kind of like The Witcher. But anyway, that's kind of being nitpicky because you can't have, every surface can't be volumetric. Another thing is there is a lot of scavenging in the game, but to some degree for a zombie survival game, it does leave a little bit to be desired. I mean, there's never, in my opinion, a time where you scavenge something, one specific thing, and you're like, wow, I can't believe I just got this one thing. I mean, everything is pretty basic. You constantly get it. There's nothing that's so strong that when you get it, you're happy. And for like a scavenging experience, to me, especially with Battle Royale being more of a scavenge, you know, like the beginning, you're scavenging for weapons, and that's kind of like been a really big genre now to a game that you actually have to scavenge, and it leaves a lot to be desired. It's kind of puts me off a little bit. It's definitely not, doesn't break the bank for me because I really enjoy the game, but just something to be aware of. Another thing is like there's a lot of check the box things that they could have refined, but it's like they obviously were just making the process work so that they could release the game. For example, like this animation when you're filling the gas tank, he just constantly rocks back and forth like in a loop, and it's definitely game immersion breaking for sure. And that's the whole point of a lot of these games is they want, you need to be immersed. That's like one of the things that they aim for. And all these little things that break immersion, to me, kind of like are off-putting. But anyway, overall, I really enjoy this game. If you like single-player RPGs where you can build rank with factions and travel to different camps and trade and sell and things like that, this is great. It's a very, like, on the surface RPG as far as, like, it's not super in-depth, but it's fun, and you'll want to play it, and I think that's the most important thing. So, if you're on PlayStation and you haven't played it yet, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. If you're thinking about getting it for PC, would I spend $60 on it for PC? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I would say, no offense to developers, I know they want people to spend full price. That's if it's going to be $60. I would say get it on sale if it's like $40. Maybe the value will be $40 up front. I don't think so. I think it's going to be $60. But is it worth $60? I don't know. I got 60 hours of gameplay, but then again, you can play Fortnite for thousands of hours and not spend a dime. So it's like, where do you draw the line at what is it worth? I don't know. That's going to be your choice. I will tell you the game's a lot of fun, in my opinion. Give it a try. If you don't mind dropping 60 on a game, is 60 hours worth 60? A lot of people would say yes. I would say I could play other games for 60 hours and be perfectly content. But anyway, appreciate you guys watching the video. If you haven't done so, please subscribe, like the video, and until next time, thanks for watching.